Okay, we've been talking about polynomials. We've talked about how to add, subtract, and multiply. Today we're going to get into divide, and I'm going to give you a few warm-up problems that are going to help you with this dividing lesson. So everything we're about to do as like a review, we're going to use today when we talk about dividing polynomials. You will definitely want to use your notebook or piece of scratch paper when you divide your polynomials. So if you're going to need it for your quiz, you might as well get it out now if you have it with you and use it for these few practice problems. Last time we reviewed for like an hour. Today we're only going to review for like 5 or 10 minutes. So let's do 5x to the third plus 2x squared minus 7x plus 6. And we're going to add these or combine them vertically. So let's say we have a 2x cubed, a minus 6x, and a minus 10. So you combine those. You combine them like old school addition. Do you know what I'm saying? Is that a yes? Okay. Only going to give you like, I don't know, 20 more seconds. Okay, so we just combine what's stacked on each other. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Keep your x cubed. There's nothing that we're adding here, so it's just plus 2x squared. Negative 7, negative 6 goes to negative 13. Keep your x. Positive 6 combined with negative 10 goes to negative 4. You're good on that one? For sure? Okay. The other thing you're going to see today is something like this. Let's go 3x to the fourth plus 2x cubed plus 0x squared minus 10x plus 5. So when we do long division today, it is really important when we get our polynomials, if we're missing a term, we have to use the placeholder 0. So what do I mean by we're missing a term? Up here, where I just left a gap in the x squared position, today what you would need to do if this is what you had is fill in a 0x squared. And I always add them because 0 doesn't have a sign. It's not negative or positive. So I always just add them because that's easier for me. So now let's stack on some terms that match up. So let's say 7x to the fourth minus 6x to the third minus 10x squared plus 8x minus 1. This time, though, I want you to subtract these. So I'm writing subtract out to the side because I have to go through now, just like when we did this in our first lesson, I have to go through and change every single sign to its opposite. Does that sound vaguely familiar when we had to distribute in the negative? Does that sound familiar? So you change the positive 7 to a negative you change the -6 to a positive. You change the -10 to a positive. You change the +8 to a negative. And you're going to need to figure out a way where you totally know that that's a negative. And then lastly, you change that -1 to a +1. So if you had these two things stacked and you're supposed to subtract them, you have to go through and do every single sign the opposite. Okay, you guys add those and I'll pull names. So add each set of like terms. No Fernando. No Carly. No Diamond. Does anybody know Viliami? No. Okay. The first term goes to Britain. -4x to the 4th, perfect. Second term goes to Nick.
Plus 8x to the cube.
Great. Third term goes to Raul. Plus 10x squared. Fourth term goes to Zach. -18x. Good job combining those negatives. And the last term goes to Fire. +6. So we've been adding and subtracting polynomials, and today how you're going to see that skill is you're going to see them stacked on top of each other and you're going to add vertically. If you're asked to subtract, you got to go through and change all the signs. Okay, let's review multiplying by just double distributing. So let's do x plus 7 times x minus 3. This is 2 over the top, 2 under the bottom. Let's put this one on your whiteboard. Got about 30. $20. $10. $5. $3. Okay, show me what you have. Hold it up for a second so I can check all of you. I'm waiting just a sec. Okay, we should have a plus 4x in the middle. Okay, let's do x minus 3 times x minus 1. about 20. Ten. Five. 3, 2. Okay, show me. We should have a plus 4x, just kidding, a minus 4x in the middle. So I'm only bringing attention to the middle terms because that's where you guys usually get lost at. You guys usually are okay on the x squared in the last term. So then the last thing that we talked about when we were reviewing last time was a division problem if it looks like a fraction. So if I would have had x plus 6 times x minus 7, and that was all over x plus 1. Do those things divide based on what we talked about last time? No. So this is a binomial, this is a binomial, this is a binomial. This x plus 1 will not divide into either of these binomials because in order to divide, it has to be exactly the same. So what we would say here is x plus 1 is not a factor. How do I know? Because x plus 1 is not one of the factors in the top. This is related to what you're going to do today. So if x plus 1 doesn't divide into either of these, you say it's not a factor. If instead we would have had x plus 6 times x minus 7 over x plus 6, can I divide this x plus 6 into one of these binomials? Yes. These two divide, or x plus 6 is divisible by x plus 6, and you would say x plus 6 is a factor. Which some of you guys should be feeling like at this point, well, duh, like we know x plus 6 is a factor because it's x plus 6 times x plus 7. Like this is obvious, so why do we have to write it out? And the answer to that is in this following problem. What if we would have had instead x squared minus x minus 42 divided by x minus 7? Now this question of, is this a factor, becomes much more interesting because it's not obvious anymore. In order to figure out if this is a factor, we either need to factor the top or do long division, which is what you're learning today. Luckily for us, we know how to factor the top. Because this third number is a little bit bigger, I'm just going to give you the factors. It's this up here. It's x plus 6 times x minus 7. So I just multiplied these two things out in my head and wrote it as the trinomial instead. Well, if I divide that by x minus 7, I have one in the top and one in the bottom. So I can say x minus 7 is a factor. What does that mean? That means in order to get this trinomial, I multiplied x minus 7 by something. Is this making a little bit of sense? Yes, no? You're sure? Okay, let's have you, I need to go to another page because I write so big. Well, maybe I don't. Let's have you guys try one of these. I'll try to make the factoring easy. Should have paid attention. Indeed. I was going to roast you, and I thought, you know what? You're the one that has to do the quiz, not me. So, good luck. So you factor that trinomial in the top and see if x minus 2 is a factor. I'll pick a stick and everybody's stick is back in. Just keep everybody on their toes. Roughly 30. $20. $10. Okay, Ivani, is it a factor? Yes, because this is x minus 2, x minus 5. Do you see what happened there? -2 plus -5 is -7. What two factors multiply to +10 and add to -7? Okay, one more of these before I show you long division. X squared plus 12x plus 27 divided by x plus 6. You have a whole section in your notebook on factoring these. So if you need some extra support, you need to go there in your book. I'll tell you the page. An 8. If you forgot how to do these, it's page 8. You got about 15. $10. Okay, this one goes to Elia. Is x plus 6 a factor? No. So this one should have been slightly quicker because 27 doesn't have that many factors. You do 1 in 27, 2 doesn't work, 3 and 9, those are the only factors. So it has to be x plus 3 times x plus 9 divided by x plus 6. So x plus 6 is not a factor. So now let me show you how to do this using long division. You should write this down either in your math notebook or in this paper notebook. Let's do x squared minus 7x plus 10 divided by x minus 2. So this is how they give it to you. A trinomial divided by a binomial. So you set up the little house for dividing. And in the house, you put the dividend, which is the first trinomial or the first polynomial. So x squared minus 7x plus 10. And on the outside, you put the divisor, which is the second number. That's just fancy for what are you dividing by. So out here, you put x minus 2. And now the fun begins. So we are trying to cancel out this first term, x squared. In order to do that, we need to figure out what do I multiply this x by to get x squared. So I multiply that by x. You write that in the top. I'm trying to get rid of x squared. In order to do that, I need to figure out what can I multiply this first term by to get the same exact thing, x squared. So now we multiply. X times x is x squared. You also need to do x times negative 2. That gives you negative 2x. Now we are subtracting these. Now we're going to subtract these. So that means that I put a minus on the front of my x squared, and I change the negative 2x to positive 2x. Why did I do that? Because now these two things cancel out. The x squareds go away. And what we bring down is negative 7 plus 2 is what? Negative 5x. Drop down the plus 10. And then we do the same exact thing. So we come back up to the top and we say, okay, I have to cancel out a negative 5x. So in order to do that, I need to multiply this x by something to make it look exactly like this. Negative 5. So in the top, you write negative 5. And now you multiply this guy. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x, and that's what we wanted. We wanted those two things to be exactly the same. Negative 5 times negative 2 gives you positive 10. And just like we did before, you subtract. So we have to change negative 5 to positive 5, positive 10 to negative 10, and that goes to 0. Which means that x minus 2 does divide into x squared minus 7x plus 10. So your factors for this, and I will make sure that you write this down, what we know now is that the factors of this thing underneath the house, so I'll highlight that in green. This thing underneath the house is equal to x minus 2 times x minus 5. How do I know that? Because x minus 2 is on the outside x minus 5 is on the top. This should not be too much of a surprise to you because this is what we did here. We just did it in a way faster way. We factored x squared minus 7x plus 10 and realized, oh, there's one in the top, one in the bottom. So it does divide into this. Here, though, we had to go the way long way. Okay, let's do one more of these before we get into the even more crazy ones. So this time we're going to do x squared plus 12x plus 27 divided by x plus 6. So the first polynomial you see is what goes in the house. X squared plus 12x plus 27. Because that's your dividend. The dividend always goes in the house. The divisor is not invited. They just hang out on the outside, knocking on the door, waiting to be let in. And it is the same process. It all starts here at this x. And we are going to look at this term first and say, how can I get an x squared with this guy? So what do I need to multiply x by? X. We do x times x is x squared. X times positive 6 is plus 6x. And now we got to minus those. So minus x squared minus 6x. The first two cancel out, because that's exactly what we wanted. The middle two go to what? 6x. Positive 12x minus 6x is a positive 6x. Drop down your plus 27. Now you're looking at the first term again, but this time it's 6x. So what must I multiply x by to get 6x? Well, positive 6. And you distribute again. So 6 times x gives you 6x. 6 times 6 gives you plus 36. Then you subtract that. We get our 6's to go away. And what number do we have left over? I think it's negative. Okay, and now we have a problem because there is no way I can multiply x by something and get negative 9. There's nothing that exists that will do that. So this is your remainder. And now we know x plus 6 is not a factor. How do I know that? Because I have a remainder. I have a remainder of negative 9, which means that x plus 6 doesn't divide into this. It's only a factor if your remainder is 0. And just like I said on the last one, hopefully this is not too much of a surprise, because this was this problem at the top. When I said, is x plus 6 a factor? And you guys said, nope, not a factor. So that's what we ended up getting down here. You're hanging in? Okay, now it's going to get crazy. So we're in our notebooks on page 37. So we skipped 36. We skip composite functions, and we're going straight into long division. It is the same process that we just used, but now look at your dividend. We do not, well, we could factor this by grouping, but I feel like that might be almost as complicated as just dividing. So we were doing trinomials, now we're doing a straight up polynomial. So we're going to draw our house. And then this little picture up here says you put the dividend inside the house. The dividend is always the first number. So x cubed minus x squared minus 2x plus 8. And we got lucky on this one. We don't need to replace any term with a 0. So it says if you're missing a term, meaning if you start with an x to the 5th, you have to have a place for x to the 5th, x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, x squared, x, and then a number in order to do this. We have all of our places. 3, 2, 1, number. On the outside, we put x minus 1, which is the divisor. The divisor is always the second number, comes after the divide symbol. The process is exactly the same, except for we have a longer polynomial this time. So what should we multiply x by to get x cubed? X squared. X squared times x is going to give us x cubed. X squared times negative 1 is going to give us negative 1x squared. Now what do we do? Subtract. So change the first term to a negative, change the second term to a positive. Okay, well, in this one, our first terms go away and our second term goes away. So what do we bring down? Negative 2x plus 8. How are we going to get a negative 2x here? Subtract 2 up on the top of the house. If I want a negative 2x here, I need to multiply this by negative 2. So that's going to give me negative 2x. What comes underneath the 8? Plus 2. How do we know? Because you take negative 2 times negative 1, and that goes in the second position. So now we do what? Subtract. So the negative 2 becomes positive. The positive 2 becomes negative. These cancel. What number do we have left over? 6. So was x minus 1 a factor? No. So over here I want you to write 2 things. Well, 3 things. Number 1, I want you to write x minus 1 is not a factor. I'm only having you write this because it shows up on the quiz. They're going to say, divide this, is it a factor? And you're going to write yes or no. So in this case, you would say no. What is your remainder? 6. So on some of the quiz questions, they're going to ask you, what is the remainder? That's the only thing they're going to ask you. They're going to give you this problem, and then the quiz is going to say, what's the remainder? And what they expect you to type in is 6. Then the last thing that you might see is how you write this out. So, or how you write the answer or the quotient out. So here's the quotient. Let me give you a number example really quick that you don't need to write down. If we had 12 divided by 4, what does that equal? 3. So this is the dividend. This is the divisor. The quotient is the answer. The quotient is the answer to the division problem. So our quotient is x squared minus 2, and then it gets crazy, right, plus the remainder 6 over the dividend. X cubed minus x squared minus 2x plus 8. Holy moly pants. That's big old ginormous quotient. Would you agree? Yes, we would agree. Are you hanging in? No? Do you know where you're confused? Do you know where you're not hanging in at? Are you okay? Maybe that's a better question. Are we okay? Why aren't you okay? Nobody's dumb. Wait, maybe I lied. Am I lying? I might be lying on this. Let's figure it out with a number. Let's do 27 divided by 6. What is 27 divided by 6? We'll plug it in for me for realsies. Caesar, wake up, no sleeping. What are we getting? 4.5, are you sure? Okay. Well, if we, how many times does 6 go into 27? 4. Remainder 3. Right? Ah, shizzlebots. We don't write this big long one in the bottom. We write the divisor in the bottom. Thank the heavens. So change that. Well, that makes our life like a smidgen easier, right? Right? I'm already having to dig real deep today. Okay, ready for the next one? Next one, we got to fill in a 0. Yeah, let me show you what I mean. So we draw the house. And we got to put the dividend in there, which is your first number, which would mean it's this top one. 2x squared. But what I have to have next is an x term. Do I have that? No. So I need to use 0 as a placeholder. So what I need to fill in there is plus 0x. That's what this little note here up at the top was telling you. If you're missing a term, you got to replace it with 0. Okay, what should I write for the last term? Thank you, minus 20. What do we write on the outside? X plus 3. We need to use this x to cancel out 2x squared. So what are we going to multiply by? 2x. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 3, positive 3, is positive 6x. Now what? We subtract. The 2's cancel out. And now we have a negative 6x. What do we drop down? Negative 20. And now I'm trying to get rid of negative 6x. So I have to multiply x by something to make it be exactly negative 6x. So what do? Negative 6. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Negative 6 times positive 3 is negative what? Now what do? Subtract. Which means change the signs. The 6's go away. And what are we left with? Negative 2. So once you have a number here, that means you're done, which means you have a remainder of negative 2. Was x plus 3 a factor? No. X plus 3, not a factor. Okay, well, what's the quotient? I won't mess it up this time, I promise. You write what's on the top of the house. So 2x minus 6 plus your remainder of negative 2 over your divisor of x plus 3. Piper, $20 fine for coughing, okay? Because now we're all going to get the vid. We'll be quarantined for 2 weeks, ma'am. Do you have a fever?
No.
All right.
Yes,
Okay, on this next problem, I'm picking sticks. So, there's that. And everybody's stick is in, and we're walking through the whole darn problem. So, you guys write down what goes in the house and what goes outside the house. I will do one quick walkthrough to make sure that you wrote something down, and then we'll get crack-a-lackin'. Okay, about 10 seconds. 5, 3. Okay, first question goes to Cheyenne. What number am I trying to cancel out? The 3x cubed. So, Zach, what am I going to put on the top here to make x look like 3x cubed? 3x squared. Zane, what do I write down now underneath the 3x cubed? No, 3x cubed. And then what comes next? Oh, 3x squared. I'm with you. Okay. Anisha, what do I do next? Well, first we gotta change our signs. And then we can cancel out 3x cubed. Beth, what is 8x squared minus 3x squared? 5x squared. And I forgot to mention we didn't have to fill in any zeros. So now, Hugo, what do I bring down? And? Fire, what am I trying to cancel out this time? 5x squared. Sarah, what do I put in the top here? Plus 5x. Yes. So when I multiply these, 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times 1 is plus 5x. Nick, now what do I do? Subtract, which means change the signs. The x squareds cancel out. Piper, what do the x's go to? What do the x's go to? 6x, very good. Caesar, what do I bring down? Yep, the 6 plus 6. Elia, now what am I trying to cancel out? 6x. Carter, what should I write in the top to cancel out that 6x? Nope, not quite. Plus, I already have my x. So what's the only thing I need? 6. There you go. 6 times x, 6x. 6 times 1, positive 6. Elizabeth, now what do I do? Switch the signs or subtract. And then Ivani, what's my remainder? 0. So if it says, is x plus 1 a factor, our answer would be yes. How do we know? The remainder is 0. What is our quotient? Or our answer? 3x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay, number 4, you set up the house. I maybe wouldn't start solving until you verify that what you have inside and what you have outside is right. So you guys fill in the house, the inside and the outside of the house. Oh no, Camille. Okay, I saw 2 of you have the correct situation. Don't know why you guys don't trust me when I say don't start until you check. Because the inside should be x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 8. The outside was Gucci. You all had x minus 2. The inside, not Gucci, Hugo. Okay, you guys solve this out. And you are going to write the remainder on your whiteboard. So you're doing the whole shebang without me. There's always a remainder. Sometimes we get lucky and the remainder's 0, though. Okay, we need, looks like, another minute. While you're waiting, while we're waiting, I'll go release your quiz. Did you write your remainder on your whiteboard? About 30. $20. 10, 5, 3, 2. Okay, show me what you're working with. Remainder 0. So x minus 2 is a factor. Okay, I would highly recommend, if I could force you guys to do something, I would. This would be it. Use your notebook to solve out your quiz problems. Because if you make a silly mistake, you're going to want to be able to easily go back and figure out what you did wrong. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh my heavens. Okay, go. Use your notebook.